Hi guys, it's me Ty here coming from Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and today I'm going to talk about beggar scams in Cambodia. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about um, how I kind of learned about a lot of them being in all these other countries and with my experiences there, and then it'll lead into where we are at here in Cambodia. Okay, so the first time I ever really ran into this stuff was when I was dating my girlfriend in the Philippines. Um, we were on one of the jeepneys on our way to the clinic, and at it stops, whatever each block, and people will jump on and they'll pay their pesos or whatever. Well, this little 7-year-old beggar girl, she jumps on the jeepney. She sits in the back, and she didn't pay any money or whatever, but she had these little cutout pieces of paper that were folded, and she set one on each of our lap or whatever. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't pick it up, and I asked um, my girlfriend what it is, and she told me that that little girl that she probably can't speak English, but in the Philippines, rather like Cambodia, all the kids and everybody, well, the kids they'll wear T-shirts because it isn't as hot as the Philippines. But the Philippines, all the little kids wear tank tops, and the little girls have dresses that are just like a strap or whatever. And she's like, "You see that tattoo on that little 7-year-old girl's shoulder?" And I look over, and sure as heck, it said the name Bill on it. And she said that that's the man that owns that little girl. Like there'll be all these orphans or whatever on the street or whatever, and that man, he'll feed them or whatever, and he sends them out to beg for money. And then when you give them money, they go around the corner and they give all the money to their owner, which this one's owner is Bill. And so we didn't give any money, but she's like, if you're gonna give them money, or want to give them something, you would give them food and water, um, only, because, like I said, they'll either give it to him or else the kids will actually use it for drugs and alcohol as well. And then after that, my next experience was when I was down in Colombia. Any of you that have ever been in Colombia, I spent 3 years down there. Um, it's really overrun with Venezuelans. Like even the city of Medellin, over half the population is Venezuelans. Their economy just is terrible in Venezuela. Um, it's just demolished. So all of them um, came illegally into Colombia, and these are the bad Venezuelans that are coming in, that are creating gangs and all that. And I was talking to one of in the community. There was always this man, Venezuelan. He dresses as a woman, and he's like 6'3". He's built like Dennis Rodman, except like I said, he's a Venezuelan. And I was talking to one of the old retired guys that lives down there, and he told me that one day that that man dressed as a woman asked him for money, and I'm sure the man, was probably a little intimidated by this big guy or whatever. So he gave him some money, just to get him to go away or whatever. Well, he said the next day that man asked for him for money again, and he said, "I don't have any." And that man that was dressed as a woman cold clocked him and knocked him out. So that's the thing about it, is once you give these beggars money, you have officially um, developed a relationship with them, where every day, 365 days a year, when they ask you for money, we expect it. And I actually ran into a couple of, well, 3 Americans that were on vacation down there too. And they're pretty big, tough guys or whatever. They're from down by Miami. And they told me that there was a whole bunch of the Venezuelans down there. And um, one of them came up to them. They were sitting in one of the outside cafes or whatever where they have the tables. And one of them came up to the guy, and he's asked if he'd have some money. And the guy from Florida, one of the three, gave him some money just to go away or whatever. And he's like, "Remember this, that I gave you money or whatever." Well, the next day, they were staying at the same restaurant. That same guy and his buddies come over, and they asked for money. And he's like, the Florida guy was like, "Don't you remember me? Uh, I gave you money yesterday." And the Venezuelan said, "Yesterday I was asking. Today I'm telling you, give me money." And there was an altercation. It got pretty heated with swear words and everything. But in the end, he didn't give him any money. Okay, so then um, when I first moved here, I'm on my second year of living in Cambodia now. One of my roommates from Iceland, we were sitting on a park bench one day, and this little 7-year-old boy walks up to us, beggar boy, um, all raggedy clothes, probably from swimming in the river, all that. And he asks the boy from Iceland, he's like, money. And the boy from Iceland goes to give him his bottle of water or whatever. Cause um the boy's like, I don't want your damn water. I want Coca-Cola. And and my roommate from Iceland just kind of went back because he was surprised. He didn't know what to say. He just dumbfounded. And me, I was laughing. I thought it was hysterical or whatever. And my roommate from Iceland, he's trying to think of what to say. He's like, so the first that pops in his head, he's like, Coca-Cola is gonna rot your teeth out or whatever. And then so he won't give him any money. So the little boy walks off. And then I was with one of my buddies from South Africa on another occasion down there, and my buddy he'd bought a whole bunch of the little cherry tomatoes here. They're so darn good, and he was eating those. And one of the little beggar boys comes up to him, and he's like, "Money or whatever." And my buddy he knew that you're not supposed to give him money, that you're supposed to give him food or water. So he gives him the tomatoes, and I don't know if the little boy had ever tasted tomatoes, maybe or not. So he starts walking away from us. He goes and takes one of the tomatoes, bites in it, gets the juice, decided he didn't like it, threw the whole freaking thing of tomatoes, just tossed it into the grass. They even threw it in the garbage can. Didn't give it to any other poor people. Nothing. And then um, also, I remember one time when I was in Thailand, there was this old beggar guy there, and he was sitting outside of Tesco Lotus. It's kind of like one of the little Walmarts there or whatever. And I just got in and I got a whole cup of sausages on a stick and on a whole bunch of different sticks or whatever. And he's like, and he blocks the door or whatever. And he's like, money. And I was like, and I go to give him one of the sticks full of sausages or whatever. And he's like, no, 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 I just want money or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. So I just walked on. And I've done that here with a lot of the kids too, on that out at the park or whatever. They'll ask for money or whatever, and I'll have food or whatever, and you go to give it to them, and most of the time they don't want food. They're like, nope, we just want money. So, okay, where are we at now? So, okay, oh yeah, okay. So this is the kind of the reason I'm bringing this up now, because this has just been happening the last few days where it's kind of got a little bit more aggressive. Um, in which for the last few years I've noticed like when you stay out late or whatever, this is nothing new. Like the beggars will come up to you and they'll ask for money, and you just shake your head or say no or whatever, and they'll walk off. But after 11 o'clock, just remember out here, that's when most of the people go home for the night, so there's less people, and they become a lot more aggressive. Like when you say no, they'll stand there and they'll start pushing on you. They get a lot more touchy, lot more physical after 11 o'clock. So just be warned on that. But the other night, one of my Khmer buddies here, he always likes practicing his English with me, and then I pick up a little bit Khmer from him. But we were sitting down on a bench or whatever, and the 7-year-old boy walks up to us, and he wasn't dressed like a typical um, poor kid around here. He just seemed like a normal working class's son or whatever. And he asked for money. And the first thing I was thinking is, I think this kid is just trying to hustle us for free money uh, for um, for buying toys or whatever. So he asked for some money, and we're both like, no. And he's like, I want to buy one of those bracelets over there. We're like, no. So right after that, he walks about 7 feet to the next people that were down there, and I think they were like from Korea or whatever, and they ended up giving him some money. So after a while, me and my buddy we decided to get up and let's go for a little bit of a walk or whatever, and we walked like I don't know maybe a block down the riverside, and I was like, hey. I was like, that's the kid that was asking us for money or whatever. And the kid walks up to probably this 40-year-old man that had a bike or whatever. And the kid just starts emptying out all of his pockets, a whole bunch of money, handing that man the money. And I was like, I freaking knew it. I was like, I bet either that man is that kid's dad, or else that man owns him. And I didn't see any tattoos on the kid's shoulder because, like I said, all the kids here wear T-shirts. They don't wear tank tops like the Philippines. And I don't know if there's actually people here in Cambodia that own all the little orphan kids, or if it's just a money-making business. Because that's something I've noticed around here too. Like you'll have the people out there on the Riverside Park that sell hot dogs and pop and water and everything, and they'll have like 7 kids, and everybody will be like, okay, if they don't have any money, why is that? And the husband, he'll one of the big families here, the husband has his own tuk-tuk or whatever, so the family will sleep in the tuk-tuk out there on Riverside Park and stuff. And people have asked me, why if they have no money, why are these people reproducing like crazy? Where they'll have these huge families where like people with a better paying job, only have as many kids as they know that they can afford or whatever. And from what people have told me, it's a whole money making business. It's a scam, pretty much that they go and have all these babies so that they can be out there begging for money from everybody, just reeling in the bucks. And you will see so many of these little beggar kids out there on Riverside Park that have like some very extravagant toys out there. Like I see pretty much all of them have rollerblades, which I was at Aeon Mall the other day, and it's $40 for rollerblades. And then also, I've seen some of the kids with these newer big wheels. Like when I was a little kid in the '90s, growing up in the '90s, you would see some kids that had the big wheel tricycles. They're the big tire in the back and the little tires in the front, and they had the pedals on them. And I always asked my mom, I was like, why didn't you ever buy us one of those when we were little kids? And my mom's like, because they were expensive as heck. And I asked other kids that had been growing up nowadays that I'm an adult, and they're like, yes, big wheels. If you go to Walmart or any place, they are extremely expensive. So over here in Asia, like Cambodia, they have big wheelers out here, and they have caster wheels on the back. You see the kids spinning around with them and everything. And I went into Aeon Mall. I didn't actually go into the Aeon store, but one of the appliance stores that they have in that huge 3-story mall there. I walked in there and I saw one of those that all these little beggar kids are riding around here in the last few weeks. And I walk up to it and I was like, that thing can't be that darn expensive. $175 for that thing. So that's what these little beggar kids are using that money that you're giving them for to go and buy $175 toys like that you and me were never able to afford growing up. So that's kind of how that is. And then yesterday I was out at the pizza company out by Riverside and visiting with one of my buddies, and we must have been talking for close to 2 hours until my phone ran down. And up walks this 7 or 9 year old boy, and I could tell that he wasn't poor. He was dressed like a normal kid in a t-shirt, just like normal working class people around here. And he asked me for money, and I said no. And he's like, I want pizza from I'm hungry. And he points inside of pizza company there, which anybody that knows anything about the pizza company here in Cambodia, you can't afford to eat there. That place is $17 to $21 for a pizza. If you want a pizza, you're gonna go to like Domino's where you can get a pizza for like they were $5.99 or $8.99, something like $8, something like that. You're not gonna buy it at Pizza Company. That kid was trying to blow air up my skirt there. So that was the first time he came around. About 20 minutes later, he comes around again, thinking that I forgot about him or something, and asks me for money again. And I said no, and he just stands there. And he walks down off the steps, and this lady, she was dressed really nice down there, a Khmer woman. She had nice black dress pants on, a nice red um, dress shirt on, and she'd gone to the Buddhist. Uh, they set up a little temporary Buddhist worship thing there, right in front of the Buddhist temple there, and she'd been praying there. And she had her hat on, just like I said, just dressed really nice. You could tell that she had money. So she goes to get on her little Honda Today motorcycle, and this one definitely wasn't a junky one. Like they don't make the Honda Todays anymore, but this one is in really nice condition. And the Honda today is. I was looking at buying one last year, and I asked one of the Kamai men about them. He's like, yeah, they're good motorbikes, but the starters like to go out on them. But he's like, it's only $50 for a starter, um, but they do have a Kickstarter on the back. So this little boy walks up to it, and he starts jumping on the Kickstarter on the back of it to get it started. It turns out this was his mother there, and he hops on, and away they go. Well, about 20 minutes later, the mother and son come back, park in front of the Buddhist temple. The mom goes and has a little pillow. She sits in the park right next to the Buddhist temple, and she's watching me. And that little boy walks up to me again, and he asks for money, and I said no. He goes ahead, he sits in the chair at my little table. There's probably 5 other tables there. Sits at my table, and he starts tapping his hands on that table. And I, like I said, I was on the phone, and I turn over, and I was like, "You either knock that off, or you're not going to be sitting here anymore." And I think he got the the idea that because I my patience has just gone downhill over the years. I think he knew that he was going to get a spanking if he was going to sit there any longer. So he walked on out of there. So okay. And then here's another thing. When you're sitting at a lot of the restaurants around here, you'll have the beggars actually walk in there, and usually it's the grandmas, in their 50s and 60s, perfectly able-bodied women. And they usually always have their grandson because this is over noon hour, and the kids that are going to school here, they get off from they get a 3 hour lunch break. I believe it's usually 10:30, so 11:30, 12:30, 1:30. Yep, from 10:30 until 1:30 is dinner break for all the kids, so they can wander around town, go back home to mom and dad's, and go have dinner. So there's these old beggar grandmas or whatever, and they're not dressed bad or nothing. And the kids aren't either, the 7-year-old. So they'll bring the 7-year-old grandson in with them, and he'll be drinking a Coca-Cola out of the can, and she'll want money, and um, and I'll be like no, and she'll just stand there, just won't leave or whatever. And here's the thing about it from my family growing up in the United States. Like my family, we grew up very poor, and all 4 of my grandparents, both my grandpas and both my grandmas, worked full time at their jobs until they were 80 years old. And then when I went to the Philippines, I noticed that nobody works after the age of 40. I don't know if they get pushed out of their jobs or whatever, but it's all everybody's under 40 years old, and mom and dad go at home and sit on their butts, and the kids pay for everything. They're the ones that work. But then when I went to Thailand to school, it's a whole different story. Tons of people in their 60s are still on the workforce working. Where I was living, there was a grandma and grandpa in their 60s, and they just ran their own little restaurant all by themselves, and they didn't complain about having a job or anything. And then coming here to Cambodia, like I said, there obviously I'm sure a lot of these families, grandma and grandpa, live with the family, which I don't blame them. You're saving on rent and everything, but um, this is how they feel rather than going to get a job that they can just go beg. And the thing is, they walk into each one of these restaurants. They walk into the park. These grandmas that are, like I said, 50s to early 60s, perfectly able-bodied. You can definitely tell they don't have any health issues, nothing like that. And they'll just stand there. They'll be like, and when you say no, they don't just go like this. They're like, money, 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 and until they'll stand there for a couple of minutes actually, and then they'll move on next one, and they try to solicit 1,000 real out of everybody there, and then they'll work their way back down the line, working the other way, and ask you again for money. And I like I said, I think they bring in a lot of money. So the main point of this is don't be a simp. Um, it's um, and like I saw on YouTube, and I heard other people say this. This is after I'd already been to the Philippines and Colombia, that they said a big thing about Cambodia here is that don't give money to the kids that are trying to hustle money out of you like beggars, because it just promotes them that they drop out of high school um, rather than finishing school so they can get a good paying job. And like I said, in the last few weeks, I've really noticed that. I've experienced that firsthand, that these kids are trying to um, trying to be like, hey, this is way easier just asking for money, and we can buy the newest $175 toys and everything around here, um, rather than finish school or whatever. And the ones that are in school, they're like, hey, this is just easy freaking money, easy pickings around here. That on the weekends or after school, we can just make a lot of extra money just hustling people for like we're beggars. So yeah, bottom line is do what my girlfriend from the Philippines said. Don't give them money, but give them food and water. And if they don't want food and water, they didn't need it. All right. If you guys like this content, like, share, and subscribe. And I will keep kicking out these videos from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. All right, take care, you guys.